Q and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Q and Review news via our Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, or Instagram at Q and Review. That's @CUEANDREVIEW, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@qandreview.com. That's INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling us on 0141 772 3979. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, February 4. Celtic striker transfer target set for big money switch. Report by Mark Walker. Celtic target David Strelic looks set to end any hopes the Hoops have of capturing him in the summer, after Slovan Bratislava revealed he is on the brink of a £9 million transfer elsewhere. The Slovakian international was strongly linked with a move to the Scottish champions, but Slovan made it clear they wanted big money for the striker. They were at pains to point out they were not going to sell him last week, but have had a change of heart after increasing interest despite their hefty price tag. And Slovan General Director Ivan Kmotric revealed he expects a deal to go through imminently, with plenty of countries including Turkey, Switzerland, Poland and Austria still having their transfer window open. He said, "I have to say that there is a huge explosion of interest around David. The situation is changing from hour to hour. In the last 2 days, we have received an enormous number of offers. We are negotiating, discussing this topic, but nothing is closed, so I cannot say yet how it will turn out. There are countries where the windows are still open. Negotiations were very close from clubs in a lot of countries. The offers are really too high for us to be able to approach it negatively in any way." Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, February 4. Barisic joins a second new club just 6 months after Rangers' exit. Report by David Irvin. Borna Barisic has completed a deadline day move to Leganes. The former Rangers fullback has signed a loan deal with the La Liga club. Barisic, who left Rangers only last summer, has been allowed to leave Super League club Trabzonspor to seal a late move in the winter transfer window. While Leganes and Trabzonspor have not formally announced the deal, it does appear it was finalised and is appearing on the La Liga website. Barisic is the last deal to have gone through in the Spanish top flight before the transfer window shut yesterday. The former Ibrox defender joins Duke at his new club, with the Aberdeen winger completing a permanent transfer switch to the Spanish side. Barisic has played just 15 times for Trabzonspor since joining the club on a free transfer in the summer. The Croatian left-back still has another year on his deal with the Turkish club, but will spend the remainder of this season with Leganes. Upon joining Trabzonspor on a free, Barisic had said, "I am incredibly happy. We did not expect such a warm welcome. We are very excited to be here. The transfer process was very easy. We made a deal in 2 or 3 days. It was from both sides a big will and wish that I come here. When I received a phone call from Trabzonspor, I signed up here. I said I wanted to wear the shirt, and the process went well. My jersey number is not yet clear. However, Barisic has struggled for minutes in the Super League, despite claiming he had numerous clubs in Europe competing for his signature after departing Rangers. Reports by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, February 4. Johnny Gray's journey from injury despair to Scotland redemption. Report by Anthony Brown. Johnny Gray revealed there were times he feared his Scotland career was over before he banished almost 2 years in the Test wilderness with an emotional return in Saturday's Guinness Six Nations victory over Italy. The 30-year-old lock won his 78th cap at the weekend in what was his first national team appearance since the home game against the same opposition in March 2023. In between those two Murrayfield outings against the Azzurri, Gray's career was derailed by a 16-month layoff with a serious knee injury sustained while playing for previous club Exeter in their Champions Cup semi-final to La Rochelle in April 2023. At a low ebb, as he was forced to sit out the 2023 World Cup in France and last year's Six Nations, the second rower, who eventually returned to action after landing a move to Bordeaux Beagles last summer, worried his days as a Test player were behind him. Yes, I did, if I'm being honest, said Gray, occasionally pausing to keep his emotions in check. There was a lot of doubt. I'm just thankful of how blessed I am to get out and play at Murrayfield again. It's been a while. It's been a tricky almost 2 years. I have definitely learned a lot and questioned a lot of things. You have to think about some things and how you get there. But I'm just so thankful for the people who stuck by me. I am thankful for the journey I am on and to be back at Murrayfield. It was just emotion. It's always emotional when you play here, but to have that chance again was huge for me. I was a bit of a mess on the bus in the way in, if I'm being honest. I've never taken playing for Scotland for granted, but Saturday's game in particular, I will remember for a long time. There was further doubt about Gray's international future when, after playing regularly in the opening months of the top 14 campaign for Bordeaux, he turned down the chance of a Scotland call-up for the autumn series, with head coach Gregor Townsend saying in October that he was disappointed with the decision. Speaking for the first time about that situation, Gray said, "It was a hard decision. I think every 15 minutes I was questioning if I was making the right one or not, because obviously I managed to get back to playing rugby and then had the opportunity, potentially, to play international. I made myself unavailable and spoke to the club and spoke to Gregor, and I can understand the frustrations here, but it was more a case of, at some point, I thought I was not going to get back to rugby, so I thought the best way to put myself in good shape to sustain going forward was not to play in the November window. But trust me, it was not an easy decision. I went from nothing to playing quite a bit of rugby at the start of this season, which was great. You see the intensity of international matches, so it was just to make a plan. I got a month off rugby in November, and then I did my ankle in the second game back, which was not part of the plan. but that was the reason for my decision. Gray revealed a debt of gratitude to Bordeaux for placing their faith in him last summer, and he continued, "I am really grateful to them, because I was out for over a year and they still went ahead and signed me. To have belief like that in someone they don't know, it was massive for me. If someone's showing you that much belief, all you want to do is repay that. So hopefully I'm doing all right for them. I'm loving it in France. I'm enjoying my rugby. I'm not looking far ahead. I'm just trying to be present there." The Scots started their Six Nations with a 31-19 victory, but only after letting a 19-6 lead slip, as Italy levelled things up at 19-19 heading into the final quarter. Gray admits his side will have to sharpen up ahead of Sunday's visit of Ireland, and he continued, "I think Scotland of old would have maybe panicked a lot more at 19-19, but the biggest thing is we found a way to win. Sometimes in the past, if we're being honest, we've messed up those games. It's a great start for us, but we know we have to get better." Evening Times Sport, February 4. Kyogo hints at real transfer from Celtic. Motivation. Kyogo Furuhashi has hinted his motivation for quitting Celtic to move to League One was to secure a World Cup spot. Celtic surprisingly sold the Japanese ace last month in a shock £10 million deal to Rennes. He made his debut at the weekend in a 1-0 win over Strasbourg. Kyogo has twice suffered international heartbreak at Celtic when he was snubbed for both the World Cup in 2022 and the Asian Cup. He was recalled last year. However, he's told media in his homeland that he is desperate to reach the next World Cup in Canada, USA and Mexico next year. And he said, "I think that if I can prove my strength here in France by playing every week, I will be called up by the national team and I will be able to show a different side of myself. I cannot claim to be called up with certainty, but if I can demonstrate my ability at Rennes, it definitely adds to my chances. I just want to make an impact here and create chances for my teammates. I am very pleased we won in my opening game. There are a lot of players in France with very high technical abilities, and I know I will challenge myself every day." Evening Times Sport, February 4. Luke Armstrong on long road to Motherwell. Report by Graham McGarry. Despite the result, Luke Armstrong's first start for Motherwell was a memorable one for the big striker, and particularly as he well remembers where he came from. The industrious forward, who is on loan at Fir Park from Carlisle, bagged his side's equaliser in the eventual 3-1 defeat to Celtic on Sunday, but it was not his first taste of Scottish football. The 28-year-old had a short spell at Cowdenbeath when he was first starting out a decade ago, making 8 appearances for the Blue Brazil in League One and driving 3.5 hours each way from his Durham home for the privilege. So it is easy to understand why he is so grateful to have been handed the sort of platform that he has by Motherwell at this stage in his career, and as he showed against Celtic, why he is so determined to make the most of it. Said Armstrong, "It's chalk and cheese, isn't it? It's so different. It was a long time ago at Cowdenbeath, and it is unbelievable to make your home debut against Celtic. To get a goal makes it even better. There's not too many memories from Cowdenbeath, It was only part-time. I used to travel up a couple of times a week to train. I think it was costing me more to actually get there and play than what I was getting paid. I didn't even play that much. The manager was Colin Nish, and he was playing himself instead. It only lasted a few months. I saw the stock cars at the end, and I was just thinking, what is going on here? It was a great experience, and stuff like that builds you and gets you ready for men's football when you're a young kid. Back then it was 3.5 hours up there and 3.5 hours back, sometimes training on a night, so I was getting in at 2 or 3 in the morning. It was a tough time. Sometimes training was driving up. Normally, game day, it was get the train and get the train back. I had another lad, Sam Orrit, who I used to travel up with, which was rare that anyone was willing to do that. Then he left me and went to Bishop Auckland, so I was stuck by myself. It was costing us a fortune, but that's how that panned out. It was Durham. He was in Thirsk. That was the drive we had. Armstrong's short time at Motherwell has not been without its drama either, playing just half an hour or so of football under the manager who brought him to the club, before Stuart Kettlewell promptly resigned his position. The forward does not hold any grudges though, and is determined not to allow the turmoil at the club derail his loan spell in Lanarkshire. And he said, I don't feel let down. At the end of the day, it's his decision, and if it's affecting his family, it's up to him what he does. I just came here to play games, and that's all I've got to focus on. It's obviously been a bit all over the place. I signed based off conversations with the former gaffer, and obviously he's decided to leave his role. It's just one of those where I'm in the same boat as probably everyone else. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to come in, but all we can do is put everything into it, and the lads have been absolutely brilliant. It's probably one of the best dressing rooms I've ever seen, I've ever been involved with. I instantly feel a part of it, so I'm sure we'll all get together, and we'll all be absolutely fine. After a decent start on the pitch, Armstrong is hoping that he may do enough over the next few months to earn a permanent move to Motherwell. And he continued, yes, I'd love to. Obviously, I've only played a couple of games so far, but that experience on Sunday was unbelievable. You don't get that in League 2 or League 1. No teams playing against Celtic. That experience and the exposure that the Scottish Premiership brings, you want to be involved in that. I want to come here, do well, and probably try to stay up here if it keeps going well. We thought about it massively. This was a really important decision on where to go. I couldn't stay at Carlisle and not be playing football. You have to be playing. Obviously, there were conversations with a few teams, and this one really stood out as the one I wanted to come to. The last couple of seasons have not been ideal. Sometimes you just go to a club and it just doesn't work out. That's been the case at Carlisle so far. I want to try and get back going, and I think this is the perfect opportunity here to do it at this club. Report by Graham McGarry. Evening Times Sport, February 5. Key UEFA rule ahead of Celtic Champions League squad deadline. Report by David Ivrin. Celtic have until midnight on February 6 to submit an updated squad list for the Champions League. Brendan Rodgers has the opportunity to tweak his 25-man squad for the latter stages of the competition after progressing beyond the league phase. Celtic finished 21st in the revamped league phase of the competition, meaning they will compete in the knockout playoff round, where they will face Bayern Munich. The end of the league phase also presents the first chance to change the Celtic squad, but only by a maximum of 3 players. UEFA rules state clubs can make changes if they get through the league phase of the Champions League. The 25-man squad limit remains in place, as well as the need for locally trained players. However, Rodgers can switch 3 players for the latter stages of the competition as per UEFA rules. UEFA guidance on changing squad lists reads, yes, if they get through the league phase, ahead of the knockout phase, clubs can register a maximum of 3 new players by 2400 CET on 6 February 2025. Any or all of the players from the above quota of 3 may have been fielded for another club in the qualifying phase, playoffs, or league phase of the Champions League, Europa League, or Conference League. The overall limit of 25 players on List A remains, though, along with the quota of 8 locally trained players. Already, Celtic will not have Stephen Welsh, Louis Palma, and Kyogo Furuhashi in their new squad list after the trio completed moves in January. That leaves room for new addition Jota to be added into the squad, with a locally trained player required to replace Welsh. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, February 5. Postecoglou beats Celtic in record-breaking deal. Report by David Irvin. Tottenham Hotspur boss Ange Postecoglou has completed a record-breaking deal for Celtic transfer target Mason Melia. The Premier League club agreed a record fee with St Pat's for a League of Ireland player in order to sign Melia on January 1, 2026. Melia, who turns 18 in September, emerged as a Celtic target last month, with club chiefs thought to be keeping tabs on the exciting prospect. However, Spurs were in pole position to land the forward, despite initially having a £1 million bid thrown out by St Pat's. Postecoglou's side reached terms with St Pat's in the final days of the transfer window to see Melia pen a 5-year deal beginning in January next year. The striker will remain with St Pat's until the transfer goes through. Melia is the youngest ever player and goal scorer for St Pat's, having broken his own record twice as a 15-year-old. He has scored 10 goals for the Irish side in 54 outings and received a first Republic of Ireland under-21s call-up in October. A St Pat's statement confirmed, St Patrick's Athletic can confirm we have agreed the transfer of Mason Melia to Tottenham Hotspur for an undisclosed fee, which is a record transfer fee for a League of Ireland player. Mason, who turns 18 in September, will remain at Richmond Park for the 2025 League of Ireland season and will move to Tottenham on January 1, 2026. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, February 5. No cotton wool for Ida. Report by Graham McGarry. With Daizen Maeda suspended for the first leg of Celtic's Champions League playoff tie against Bayern Munich, Adam Ida is the last man standing as a recognised senior striker in the ranks of the Scottish champions. Between then and now, Celtic have 2 matches. Tonight they face Dundee at Celtic Park, before hosting Raith Rovers in the Scottish Cup on Saturday, fixtures in which, with the greatest of respect, they may not have to deploy their full arsenal to get a result. It may be understandable, in fact, if manager Brendan Rodgers chose to wrap Ida in the proverbial cotton wool and either deploy Maida through the middle or hand an opportunity to the likes of Johnny Kenny, whom he spoke glowingly of as he addressed the media. But when asked if he would be taking Ida out of harm's way with the visit of the German giants in mind, Rodgers said, "No, you have got to be robust. You cannot want to play every game and then look for a rest. Listen, we've got other players. Like I said, we've seen Deza during the game come in. I was just conscious that we've got 16 goals on either side of the field, and the idea was to bring someone else in to support Adam, rather than having to sacrifice those 16 goals to bring back inside. And then you've got to find another winger that can score 16 goals. But either way, we will be strong mentally, physically, going into our remaining games, whatever team is out there. And, as I said, there's still a lot for this group to achieve, and I am looking forward to seeing that over the coming months." That being said, the return of Jota as an option on the left, and Celtic's failure to bring in a striker to replace Kyogo, means that Rodgers is open to reassigning Maida as a centre-forward if the need arises, especially after scoring a header against Motherwell at the weekend that Rodgers said Henrik Larsson himself would be proud of. Said Rodgers, "I actually can see a lot of more natural instinctive striker movements that he has and how he plays the game. And I think if you track back to when he came in, if you look back on your stats, I think you'll see his numbers from when he came in from Yokohama. He was playing as a striker. He was up to 23 goals in something like 33 games. He's a goal scorer, and he's done it in Japan, and now you see him doing it here. And whether he's wide, whether he's through the middle, if you think of that hat-trick in Yokohama, and when I played him up front early in the season when Kyogo didn't play, he scored twice. It was the most pressing and penetrating runs that we had of any striker, way above Kyogo's level of penetration running, and he scored 2 and could have had more. So he is a goal scorer. He scores a header like Larsson. So I don't think you can doubt he might not do some other bits that other strikers will do and be a traditional number 1. The way I ask my number 9s to play, to run and set the game quickly and create space for other players, I have absolutely no doubt that he can do that. I don't want to have to do that, but I know that it's something that we can use him. Report by Graham McGarry. Evening Times Sport, February 5. Cristiano Ronaldo turns 40 today, but is not slowing down. Report by Martin McMillan. Cristiano Ronaldo turns 40 today, but there is another number focusing the mind of the Portugal star on his milestone birthday. The magic number is 77, the amount of goals that Ronaldo needs for 1,000 in a stellar career that began way back on August 14, 2002. If life does indeed begin at 40, then Ronaldo is ready to cherish the concept and unlock the gates of football history. It was once acknowledged Brazil pair Pelé and Romário scored over 1,000 goals during their careers, yet those figures were eventually rounded down to 757 and 772 respectively, with friendlies and other fixtures taken into account. The great Austria and Czechoslovakia striker Josef Bekan reportedly scored close to 1,500 goals between 1931 and 1957, but only 805 of those were recognised by FIFA. So amid this murky statistical world, Ronaldo stands top of the list on 923, 73 ahead of great rival Lionel Messi, and within sight of possibly football's greatest singular achievement. Ronaldo's records almost know no bounds. Most international appearances, 217. International goals, 135. Appearances, 183. Most goals, 140 in the Champions League. Top scorer in European Championship history in both qualifying and tournaments. Appearing at 5 World Cups and 6 European Championships is testament to his remarkable longevity, as is the fact he scored 460 goals in his 30s compared to 440 in his 20s, 23 as a teenager. The 5-time Ballon d'Or winner has always thrived under the most ferocious of spotlights and rarely have his standards dipped. His greatest glories came with Real Madrid between 2009 and 2018, becoming Los Blancos' all-time top scorer with 450 goals in 438 appearances. Ronaldo won 4 Champions Leagues, 3 FIFA Club World Cups, and 2 La Liga titles with the Spanish Giants. Yet his imprint went much wider. Despite the manner of his departure in November 2022, Ronaldo will never be forgotten at Manchester United, the club that catapulted him into the big time after signing him from Sporting Lisbon at the age of 18. In a brilliant first stint at the club from 2003 to 2009, Ronaldo won 3 Premier League titles and the Champions League under Sir Alex Ferguson, scoring 118 goals along the way in 292 appearances. There was also another appearance in the Champions League final in 2009, before he was sold to Real for a then world record £80 million. In Portugal, Ronaldo remains a national hero with his record goals tally and inspiring them to their first international title at Euro 2016, although injury limited him to just 25 minutes in the final against France. Ronaldo rose from humble beginnings on the island of Madeira, shining on the football field before being picked up by Sporting. He made his debut in a Champions League qualifier against Inter Milan in 2002, and after bamboozling United players during a pre-season friendly in Lisbon the following year, Ferguson was urged to sign the precocious Portuguese by his squad. A £12 million deal would be seen as one of the bargains of the century. After Real, he ventured to Italy, scoring 101 goals in 131 appearances for Juventus, and bringing them 2 Serie A titles among 5 trophies, and an ultimately unhappy second spell at United, despite another 27 goals, and then on to Saudi Arabia. Al Nassr reportedly made Ronaldo the highest paid footballer in history, at a salary said to be upwards of £160 million per year. Evening Times Sport, February 5. Scott Brown rules himself out of Motherwell job. Report by David Irvin. Scott Brown has ruled himself out of the running for the vacant Motherwell job. The Fir Park club are searching for a new manager after Stuart Kettlewell resigned. Motherwell officials very reluctantly accepted Kettlewell's resignation on Monday, with the coach citing personal abuse affecting his family. Stephen Frail has been appointed as interim manager, with John Obika and Richard Foster assisting in the dugout. Brown's name quickly emerged in rumours over a successor to Kettlewell. However, the former Celtic captain has insisted he will not be headed to Lanarkshire, as he keeps his focus on Ayr United. The former Scotland international currently has his side top of the championship table by 1 point over Falkirk, and Brown has vowed he is only focused on matters at Ayr as he looks ahead to a Scottish Cup tie against one of his former clubs, Hibs, on Friday. Speaking on STV, Brown said, "My main concentration is Ayr. I am really enjoying it here at this moment, and I'm really looking forward to the game on Friday. Motherwell is a great club, and I'm sure someone will go and get that job, but it's not going to be me. We're in a good place at this moment, and it's a huge game coming up on Friday. It's going to be brilliant for our fans to see a top-quality club like Hibs, and it's great for us as well." Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, February 5. Tiger Woods shares emotional tribute to late mother. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Golf legend Tiger Woods has shared his deep sorrow following the passing of his mother. The 15-time major champion took to social media yesterday to announce the sad news. In an emotional post he wrote, "It is with heartfelt sadness that I want to share that my dear mother, Kaltita Woods, passed away early this morning." He described his mother as a force of nature, adding that her spirit was unmistakable. Woods reflected on the immense impact she had on his life, calling her his biggest fan and greatest supporter. He credited her for being integral to his success, stating that none of his personal achievements would have been possible without her guidance. Kaltita, who was particularly adored by her grandchildren, Sam and Charlie, was remembered by Woods for her loving and lively nature. She was loved by so many, but especially by her 2 grandchildren, said Woods, thanking fans for their support and requesting privacy during this difficult time for his family. Although Woods did not disclose the cause of death, it was noticed that Kaltita had attended Woods' TGL match in Florida just the week prior. The golfing sensation's father, Errol Woods, passed away aged 74 in 2006. Woods has often spoken about his mother's influence, particularly when it came to his iconic red shirt for final rounds of tournaments. He once recalled a conversation with his mother on the Jimmy Fallon show last year, where she insisted red was his power colour. Woods humorously shared that, after trying to defy her by wearing blue shirts, he didn't win those tournaments, so Mom is always right, he said. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, February 6. Transformational Rangers deal catapulted Castore to $1 billion company. Report by David Irvin. Castore founder Tom Behan has revealed the partnership with Rangers was transformational and helped build the brand into a $1 billion sportswear empire. The Liverpool company have produced Rangers kits from back in 2020. Castore also assists in retail operations at the club. Castore work with huge clubs and athletes around the world, with Andy Murray having been kitted out by the brand in the past. The company supply Everton, McLaren Formula One, Red Bull Racing, England Rugby and England Cricket. However, the partnership to produce Rangers kits is the standout collaboration for Behan, who branded the agreement as transformational. The reason for that is simple. According to him, Rangers are a truly global brand with genuine backers around the world. Launched by pitching to personal trainers outside gyms, Castore has been labelled as a $1 billion sportswear empire and legitimate competitor to Adidas and Nike. Speaking on the Secret Leaders podcast, Behan named Rangers as the partnership that really made the difference for Castore and explained, "There are a lot of clubs think they have a global fan base. There are not many that do. Rangers Football Club was a transformational partnership, I would say. Globally recognised club and brand. Genuinely global fan base. People might watch the Premier League in Taiwan, Vietnam and Cambodia and Mexico, but they tend to support quite a small handful of teams. Rangers is one that people know all over the world. That was a big part of it." Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, February 6. Queen's Park sign on loan Celtic defender. Report by Josh McCafferty. Adam Montgomery has joined Queen's Park on loan from Celtic until the end of the season. The left-back initially broke into the first team at Parkhead under Ange Postecoglou, making 18 appearances across all competitions in the 21-22 season. Montgomery then went on to have subsequent loan spells at Aberdeen, St Johnstone, Fleetwood and Motherwell, although injury has plagued his young career. The 22-year-old spent the opening half of the current season at Celtic, but did not make a senior appearance. Now he has joined Scottish Championship outfit Queen's Park on a temporary basis until the end of the campaign. Queen's head coach Callum Davidson said, "We are extremely pleased to be bringing Adam in. He's a player I know well, having worked with him previously at St Johnstone, and we know he will add real quality to the squad. He can play in a number of positions down the left-hand side, and that flexibility will be very important to us in terms of giving us options down that side of the team. We have absolutely no doubt he will have a big role to play for us for the remainder of the season." The move comes after Celtic's Dane Murray spent the opening half of the season on loan in Glasgow's south side. He made 20 appearances for the club before returning to Parkhead in the new year. Montgomery now goes the other way and could make his debut against Rangers at Ibrox in the Scottish Cup this weekend. Report by Josh McCarthy. Evening Times Sport, February 6. Dundee United call for VAR reform. Report by Ewan Payton. Dundee United has launched a scathing assessment of the Scottish FA's KMI panel. The Premiership club has withdrawn its representation from the panel and has called for a robust process to help improve officiating and VAR standards in Scottish football. The KMI panel, as stated on the SFA website, delivers an assessment of key match incidents, KMIs, occurring in matches played in the Scottish Professional Football League, the League Cup, and Scottish Gas Scottish Cup, where VAR is operational. A lengthy club statement reads, Dundee United has today formally notified the SFA of our decision to withdraw our representation from the KMI panel. This decision follows extensive discussions throughout the season with the Scottish FA refereeing department, where we raised concerns regarding the panel's purpose, effectiveness, and impact on Scottish football. We believe the panel's outcomes have been inconsistent with feedback provided by the Scottish FA. There have been instances where on-field decisions, supported by VAR and endorsed by the Scottish FA refereeing department, were contradicted by the KMI panel. In many cases, these disagreements appear to be based on the opinions of panel members who, for the most part, lack significant expertise in the laws of the game. Subsequent outcomes have been magnified by external media misrepresentations, placing undue pressure on our match officials and potentially influencing decisions in future matches. We believe changes should be made to the KMI panel, or an alternative, more robust process should be used for reviewing refereeing decisions if deemed at our requirement. Additionally, we have expressed our concerns to the Scottish FA regarding the inconsistent interpretations of the laws of the game arising from VAR. This inconsistency has, at various times, caused other William Hill Premiership clubs to express their frustrations at the use of VAR, and while we are fully aware of our desire to ensure Dundee United at all times are given fair representation, we also wish to improve the overall game in Scottish football and encourage all parties to collaborate on making improvements. We further acknowledge that decisions will sometimes go against us. That is an inherent part of football. We also accept that referees, like everyone else, will make mistakes, and we respect the authority of match officials to make decisions, even when they may be contentious. However, as a club, we believe that the introduction of VAR has highlighted inconsistency in decision-making. As a result, scrutiny has been enhanced, and refereeing decisions have become a more prominent public issue. Dundee United will always prioritise the interests of our club, but we would also be reaching out to the Scottish FA and the SPFL, encouraging all Premiership clubs to come together. We are seeking ways to support our officials and improve both the VAR protocol and any subsequent review panel, with a view to enhancing Scottish football for the benefit of its member clubs. In the club's press release, United included a photo of Kilmarnock's goal scored by Marley Watkins in the weekend defeat at Robbie Park. Jim Goodwin, felt a foul had been committed by the striker on his goalkeeper Jack Walton. Derek McInnes and other Scottish football commentators have since suggested that Walton failed to command his box, thus allowing Watkins the chance to compete to nod home. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, February 6. Celtic's Engels refutes penalty merchant claims. Report by Josh McCafferty. £11 million down the drain, Aaron Engels scores again. It's now a familiar cry from the Celtic faithful. And on Wednesday evening's 6-0 trouncing of a hapless Dundee team, the chant once more got a good airing as the Belgian midfielder put in arguably one of his finest displays in a green and white jersey to date. 7 of Engels' 9 Celtic goals up to this point have been from the spot, and although he has, barring a slight mishap against Young Boys, been clinical from 12 yards, he doesn't want to be known as somewhat of a penalty merchant. My teammates are all joking about it, revealed the midfielder after he knocked in a midweek brace. I don't want to be the guy that only scores penalties. I'm more than that, so I'm happy to help the team with that. I just want to help the team win. And if that is with a goal or an assist, then that's a bonus. But I'm here to win games for Celtic, and that's, I think, the main goal. If emerging victorious from matches is a key aim for Engels, he is more than achieving his targets. Last night's win put Celtic 13 points clear at the top of the Scottish Premiership, and they are now just 8 league wins away from securing their 55th title. The midfielder was delighted with how his teammates showed up against Dundee and said, "I think it was really good from every perspective of the game. I think attacking-wise, defending-wise, everything went really well for us. And even in the last minute, you see everybody sprinting for the next goal. So it's amazing to see the drive of the boys." Celtic's continual progression, both domestically and in Europe, has been apparent throughout the season so far. Brendan Rodgers' men have made giant-like strides, and Engels reckons defensively they have come on leaps and bounds and said, "Defensive-wise, we have stepped up a lot already in a few months. We are more stable, I think, than in the beginning. That you see also in the performance. We are really sharp in defence and trying to get that 0 clean sheet. The champions have the best defence in the league, having conceded just 12 all season. A key part of their solidity at the back has been the arrival of veteran Kasper Schmeichel. The Dane has kept 18 out of a possible 25 clean sheets in the Premiership this campaign, and is always demanding more from his teammates. And Engels said, "Kasper is always talking about keeping the clean sheet. We are also really happy for him to help with that." If the 24-25 season was an 800-metre race, Celtic would have lapped most of their opponents by this point, and some of the greatest athletes of all time. They are constantly wanting to get better and turn into what Engels has described as a machine. Every game we are learning and picking things up, what we need to improve, he said. We have an amazing squad of people wanting to improve every week and every day. I think you see it in our performance, that it's only getting better and better every time. We are trying to make a machine or something from us. I think we are in a good way. The season is not over, so we are trying to improve every game. Engels' personal target this season is to net 10 goals and assist as many. Having scored 9 times and set up another 10 in 24-25 to date, he is not far off reaching such an aim. Despite the inherent pressure of being Celtic's record signing, Engels thrives on the expectation of playing for the club, and in fact has grown to adore the elite mentality in Glasgow's East End. And he said, "For me personally, I'm always there to grab another goal or something, and to have that mindset. That's why I wanted to come here to Celtic. It's the mindset of winning and keeping on going, even if it's 4-0 or something, just to destroy teams. That's what I really like mentally wise here, that everybody has the same mindset and the same way of thinking. I really love it. In every team you have always the drive to get to another goal. Sometimes other teams are maybe pleased with 1-0 or 2-0, and then they want to keep that. But here we are going and going and going and going, and even destroying ourselves sometimes physically to get another goal. That's a really nice bonus thing that we have here as a team." Although there is a positive mood surrounding Celtic at the minute, that was far from the case when the winter transfer window slammed shut on Monday. Rodgers openly wanted to sign a Kyogo Furuhashi replacement, but when 11 p.m. came, no new centre-forward was in the building. Such a happening increased frustration levels among supporters. Yet in Wednesday's win, goals were not an issue, with Dazen Maeda, Adam Ida, Nicholas Kuhn and Engels himself all getting in on the act, helping to soften the blow of Celtic's failure to bring in a new striker. Said Engels, "Kyogo was an amazing player, everybody knows that, but the people that are here are really stepping up. Adam Ida, Callum McGregor, Rio Hatate and other people, everybody in the squad, making an impact every game and trying to do some things. So that's what we are really good at, that from every position we can do something." The much heralded return of flamboyant fan favourite Jota has added yet another string to Celtic's bow in recent matches. The Portuguese wide man scored against Motherwell on his homecoming and set up Maeda yesterday with a fine lofted delivery from the left flank. Said Engels, "The cross was amazing, I think, for Dazen. He's really trying to do some things, and also in the pressing, and in every aspect. He's trying to do everything. Since he's been here, he's also training really well. So yes, I think everybody's really pleased with him coming in." A mammoth Champions League knockout round playoff against German giants Bayern Munich lurks in the distance. But Celtic and Engels have their focus firmly on Raith Rovers and making it through to the quarter-finals of the Scottish Cup this weekend. And he continued, "I think we can cause every team problems. We showed it already in the Champions League that we can do it against every team. But the next game is in the weekend, so that's our main focus now. We want to win everything, and that's why we are really good at this season, to keep on doing every game by itself, and not looking forward to the next 2 weeks or something, just game by game." Report by Josh McCafferty. Evening Times Sport, February 6. Jota reacts to fantastic Celtic Park return. Report by Josh McCafferty. Jota was delighted to make his second Celtic Park debut as Celtic cruised to a dominant 6-0 win over Dundee. Aaron Engels and Dazen Maeda each bagged braces, as Adam Ida and Nicholas Kuhn both made their respective contributions to the triumph with a goal apiece. Although the usually flamboyant Portuguese wide man did not score, he more than made his contributions to the thrashing, floating a fine cross into the back post for Maida to net his first of the match. Jota continually opened his box of tricks, particularly in the first half, remaining continually impressive. Post-match, the winger reflected on how satisfying it felt to be back playing in front of the Celtic Park crowd, and he told Celtic TV, "It was fantastic. It was a feeling I was looking for a long time." The attacker who moved back to Glasgow's East End from Rennes last week netted against Motherwell on Sunday. Emotional after he scored, Maida set the 25-year-old up, and last night Jota was more than happy to return the favour. "I wanted to do the same for him. Credit to him, because he has been outstanding this season. This is something that we work on throughout the week. Me being here in the past, I know my teammates well. I know the movements that Dazin is going to make. It's just a question of being in the right places at the right moments." Maida is known for being hugely effective on the pitch, but off it he remains tight-lipped. Asked about his own personal performance, the Japanese forward was as humble as ever and said, "I am happy to score a goal and win. I'll do my best in the next game." The untimely loss of Kyogo and subsequent failure to replace him was a major frustration for the Parkhead faithful when the transfer window slammed shut on Monday night. But just a few days on, such irritations seem like a distant memory. Now 13 points clear of Rangers at the top of the Scottish Premiership, you would be a fool to bet against Celtic winning the title at this stage. Brendan Rodgers' men have been in fine fettle almost all season and came up with their biggest home victory of the current campaign against Tony Docherty's side, who have now lost back-to-back games by 6-0. The games keep on coming for Celtic, with Raith Rovers next up in the Scottish Cup 5th round on Saturday. Report by Josh McCafferty. Evening Times Sport, February 10. Craig Fowler says, "Scott Arfield's homecoming, a reminder of football's magic." There's plenty to dislike about football in the modern age. There is financial inequality. There is sports washing. There are clubs who become playthings for delusional millionaires. The nonsensical pursuit of perfection has saddled us all with VAR, which by its very nature detracts from the unparalleled sporting euphoria of a goal being scored. Ticket prices are too high. Those in charge of the game at the highest level care only for money and nothing else. There are too many subscriptions required to even watch domestic games, never mind follow what's happening across the border or on the continent. It's becoming oversaturated. The handball rule is a continuous farce. I could go on and on and on. But at the same time, it is difficult to get too bogged down in the negatives, or even think about switching your attention elsewhere in the quest for stimulation and entertainment, because something quickly comes around to remind you of why you love football so much in the first place. Scottish football provided two such moments this past weekend. One, of course, was Queen's Park's stunning upset in managing to knock Rangers out of the Scottish Cup at Ibrox. The other was Scott Arfield's heroic return to Falkirk. The prodigal son marked his second debut, almost 18 years after his initial bow with an unforgettable hat-trick. Understandably, Falkirk supporters were delighted to see the Canadian international return home and immediately received confirmation that he was here to give the Scottish Championship title aspirations a shot in the arm. In just 45 seconds he did what he's been doing his whole career, being in the right place at the right time to coolly dispatch his shot beyond the goalkeeper as a deafening roar greeted the ball hitting the back of the net. Near the end of a pulsating first half, in which Partick Thistle responded with a double before Gary Oliver equalised with a penalty rebound and away captain Brian Graham was sent off, Arfield sent the crowd into raptures once more. Again, it was of the opportunistic variety, as he hung back on the edge of the penalty area and once again showed his prowess to calmly slot away as everyone around him lost their minds. The hat-trick was completed on the hour mark from the penalty spot as Falkirk accelerated away from Thistle en route to a 5-2 win. Often commentators can struggle to find the right words to fittingly enhance the moment in front of them, but Falkirk TV host Sean Elderbrandt nailed it in spectacular style on the club broadcast when he said, "Scott Arfield, who started his burgeoning career here at Falkirk, has returned home and delivered us one of the greatest moments this stadium has ever seen, will ever see. A hat-trick on his second debut for the club that loves him so much. That match ball is yours, Scotty, and we will never forget this day." Although I must instinctively disagree with the commentator when he said of the hat-trick that "you couldn't write this," Arfield's Roy of the Rovers style return is very much something which felt like it came from the pen of a Hollywood scriptwriter. But that's another part of these moments which make them so magical. Arfield returning and scoring 3 goals in an important win somehow felt both inevitable and otherworldly. Football's unpredictability often means the logical narratives don't come to fruition, while special moments can elude us and leave us feeling cynical. So when dreams do come true, they feel all the more powerful. The fact Arfield did all of this while wearing 37 on his back gives it all a heart-warming touch. The 36-year-old has sported the number since moving from Huddersfield to Burnley in 2013, a tribute to late friend and Falkirk teammate Craig Gowans, who was killed in a training ground accident when a metal pole he was carrying connected with some overhead electric cables. Doing so back in the colours of Falkirk reinvigorates the meaning as we approach the 20th anniversary of that fateful day. By that time Falkirk could yet be a Premiership club once more. The Bairns have not been back in the big time since Ryan Flynn's late miss at Rugby Park on the last day of the 2009-10 season sealed their relegation. Since then, they have been to hell and back, dropping down as far as League One and twice finishing so low that they missed out on the playoffs. There have been an array of dud managers, dreadful signings and condescending board members. Fans have been put through the ringer, but this season has given them every reason to believe that the comeback is about to be completed, that John McGlynn can lead them back-to-back promotions and a return to the promised land. They have been wavering a little recently, but Saturday's result puts them back on top of the pile, 2 points above Ayr United, who travel to the Falkirk Stadium next weekend in what is a crucial encounter in the title race. Upon his re-signing, Arfield spoke candidly to club media about his determined desire for redemption. He was part of the team who dropped out of the SPL about 15 years ago, with his final game for the club coming in a goalless draw with Kilmarnock, which sealed their fate. With his contract expiring in the summer, and his advancing years keeping open the possibility of retirement, he is determined to help take them back to the top in what could be his final act as a footballer. The script is already written. Now let's see if the main character can turn it into reality, says Craig Fowler. Evening Times Sport, February 10. Turnberry pro Strachan savours his new lease of golfing life. Report by Nick Roger. There is a lot to be said about job satisfaction. If you enjoy what you do, you don't work a day in your life, suggested the Turnberry professional Christopher Strachan. Funnily enough, that sounds like the phrase the sports editor often mutters to this correspondent. Well, the last bit of it anyway. Strachan's lust for life is understandable. The 26-year-old was given a new lease of it after all, and his spirit remains as hardy as the granite on Ailsa Craig. As a teenager, he underwent major heart surgery after his lecturer at Edinburgh Napier University expressed concerns about his young student's resting heart rate during a fitness test. It was a timely intervention that would ultimately save Strachan's life. After taking my heart rate, the lecturer said to me, "That's not normal. You should get that checked out," reflected Strachan of an issue that had been undetected up until that day. A few months later, I was on an operating table getting one of my heart valves replaced. I was very lucky they caught it. If I hadn't been doing that test that day, I may never have found out I had a defect. But my aortic valve was working overtime to pump blood around my body. I got diagnosed in November and got operated on in March. I was slightly naive at the time. I had moments of being out of breath and light-headed, but I didn't think it was sinister. They said within 6 months I probably would have had an aneurysm, and that would have been it. It was a race against the clock when they found it. At the time, Strachan was a dab hand with the clubs and had ambitions of forging a playing career. He came from good golfing stock with his dad Sandy and grandfather David, both serving as head professionals at Bathgate, the fine West Lothian club that produced 3 Ryder Cup players and 2 captains in Eric Brown and the Galcha pair Bernard and his nephew Stephen. You'd walk into the clubhouse and see the paintings of Eric, Bernard and Stephen, and that would give you a huge amount of motivation, he added. The scale and complexity of his operation, however, meant that Strachan had to reassess his golfing goals. If you're squeamish, you may want not to listen to the next couple of sentences. He said, the way they operated, they had to cut my breastbone open, so they had to break my ribs to get in. I had to be very careful coming back into golf because of the amount of power and rotation it requires. I wanted to be a player. I had dreams like all youngsters, but the operation put me on a different path. After my surgery, I had to find something that would give me that same sense of satisfaction. Golf was all I knew, and I could not live without it. Opportunity would knock in the shape of the PGA qualification. Strachan served his apprenticeship at Prestonfield in Edinburgh before making the move to Turnberry. A PGA pro tends to possess the multitasking qualities of a Swiss Army knife, and Strachan's wide-ranging role at the Ayrshire resort continues to provide plenty of diversity and fulfilment. People have an assumption that a golf pro stands on a range giving lessons or works in a shop, but it's so much varied, says Strachan, who is part of a team led by Director of Golf Ricky Hall. I've really got into the events side of things, whether they are for members or visitors. I meet tour operators, deal with hotel staff, and have discussions about rooms and dinners. It's a broad industry, and I'm always learning from the different departments. There's always the odd, well-kent face to deal with too. I met Tom Watson, and he just talked away to me like any normal customer in the pro shop, said Strachan, of a golfing great who is woven into the fabric of Turnberry. Strachan's enthusiasm is unwavering, while his health issue as a teenager continues to give him a refreshing, motivating perspective on life. And he said, "Because of what happened to me, I just embrace each day and try not to get caught up in the struggles of daily life. We're all lucky to be here, and that's how I approach life. I'm fit and healthy just now, but I know I'll have to get another operation in 10 to 15 years' time. But I'll let future Chris worry about that." Report by Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, February 10. Rangers credit disappears after unacceptable Scottish Cup exit. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Philippe Clement knows that Rangers have squandered all the goodwill they built up by losing to Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup. The Light Blues' fifth-round exit was confirmed at a toxic Ibrox yesterday afternoon, with the Scottish Championship visitors triumphing 1-0. They are all down, and so they should be, the Rangers manager told Premier Sports. It is unacceptable to lose this, and they all know that. They built credit back over the last weeks and months with the fans, but they lost everything of that credit. This is not acceptable to lose against Queen's Park in the Cup. That was probably the rush that there was in the second half, but you need composure in these moments. We had so many times the possibility for the shot, but we were not calm enough, and that hurts us. Because of that, we are out of the Cup. It is super frustrating. The first half there was a low tempo, but we had the chances to go in front. We dominate the game. In the second half, we raise our tempo. We created the most chances that we have this season, with 30 chances, but there's no goals, even a penalty not scoring. You get one shot on target against you, and you concede the goal, so it's a hold-up. But in the end, we should have scored more goals, and it's about that. We are out of the Cup, so it's a super frustrating evening. Asked if he feels his Rangers job is now under threat, Clement replied, "It's happened in the past. We know it's a rebuild. I'm focused on this game and the next game. I don't think you can ask much more than to get 30 chances. It's nothing to do with tactics or whatever. It's about the quality of the moment. That's what we missed. So yes, I'm confident about that. Everybody knows how hard we are working together. Last week, everybody was saying that the team was taking great steps and growing. We get 8th position in the Europa League. It's not because you lose a game where you normally win 99 times out of 100 that things change about the way things are working. If you do that, then you're only living on emotions, and there will never be stability in this game. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, February 10. Tavernier believes Rangers fans have every right to be angry. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Furious James Tavernier admits that Rangers deserve all the criticism that's coming their way after they were dumped out of the Scottish Cup by second-tier opposition. Tavernier's penalty miss deep into second-half stoppage time meant that Queen's Park had done enough to seal an historic fifth-round triumph over the Light Blues at Ibrox. Substitute Drodd's impressive strike in the 69th minute gave the visitors a surprising advantage, even though Rangers had largely dominated possession and repeatedly threatened the Spiders' 18-yard box. The Scottish Premiership giants tirelessly sought an equaliser and appeared to be on the brink of success in the 97th minute with a penalty. However, Tavernier had his attempt spectacularly denied by keeper Callum Ferry, leading to jubilant celebrations from those in Queen's Park colours, whilst angry home supporters made their feelings known. Tavernier confessed, "It is unacceptable. We cannot be losing at home. We cannot be having over 30 shots at goal. I believe it's 12 shots on target. I've got to do better with the penalty, but we will have to take accountability, everybody. It is just unacceptable. It's as simple as that. Being a Rangers player comes with expectations and you have to deliver. If you don't, then rightly, you will hit the brunt of the have-ands. That's exactly what we deserve today. I won't really touch on tempo, as I think we created chances, but just not good enough chances. You cannot be shooting that many times at goal and putting the ball over the bar too many times. We give up an easy goal, and we just can't be doing that." Asked if he, as captain, acknowledged the rage from the Rangers fan base following the result, and he replied, "I think you have to. You cannot be losing at home to a championship team. It's as simple as that. They have got every right to be mad at us." Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, February 10. Why Rangers will not sack Clement after Queen's Park defeat. Report by Ewan Payton. Richard Foster insists that serious questions need to be asked of Philippe Clement following Rangers' dismal Scottish Cup exit to Queen's Park. However, the former Ibrox defender believes that the Belgian will hang on to his job as head coach for now. Substitute Drozd scored the only goal of the game, sending the championship side through to the quarter-finals of the Scottish Cup. Goalkeeper Callum Ferry was equally the hero at the other end, as he saved a 95th minute penalty from James Tavernier to prevent the game going to extra time. The result leaves Clement on extremely thin ice in his role at Rangers, with fans calling for him to go after the cup embarrassment. However, Foster believes the Belgian will not be dismissed as the club seeks long-term stability. The 39-year-old said on BBC Sports Scene, "I mean, it's a seismic result. You don't ever want to see managers losing their job, and I think he holds on to his job for now. But I think there will be serious questions asked in terms of the direction. Just when it looks like they're sowing the seeds of a revival, of a new dawn, something like this happens. Nothing as severe as this has happened as of yet, but I think for now he keeps his job. Serious questions have to be asked about Rangers. Have they probably regressed? I think Clement spoke about that. They have actually regressed back to where they were towards the start of the season." Clement commented post-match, "Everybody knows how hard everybody is working together. So last week everybody was saying that the team is taking good steps growing and creating 8th position in the Europa League. It's not because you lose a game where you normally have to win 99 out of 100 that things change about the way things are working. If you do that, you're only living in emotions, and there will never be stability in this club." Report by Ewan Payton.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service